the NBA draft is this week, so that is where we're going to have our start of the focus, and it's going to largely be on Jonathan Mogbo because his name, much like we have seen the last couple of years with Jalen Williams, with Brandin Podziemski from Santa Clara, that we have seen a WCC name really kind of shoot up the draft board. I would say, and I would have been alone in this assessment, that going into the offseason, the Jonathan Mogbo as an NBA prospect, I thought was a little premature. Did I think there was potential there? Absolutely. Like, you could clearly see the skill sets that would translate to the next level. Athletic, he can handle the ball. He's a playmaker. We hadn't seen much of his shooting, which I think was, for me, definitely the biggest question mark, was whether or not he could actually shoot for his size. Again, being a little bit of a smaller big man, you have to be able to kind of stretch out to the 3-point line. I think he took all of one 3-pointer, if he did even took one this past season. So there was, for me, that was a big question mark. But as we saw him go through the draft combine, go through all of the workouts, it really does seem that teams are really starting to like him, and he has gone from really kind of like draft unknown altogether to someone who has continued to just move up, move up, move up. And just looking in the latest, a handful of mock drafts for the NBA for the draft coming up, 52, 42, 39. I've seen as high as 33. So just outside of the first round for Jonathan Mogbo. And I think he's one of those guys right now. You kind of know what he is defensively. Like, he is, and WCC fans saw this, he's everywhere defensively. Like, he can guard one-on-one. He knows how to rebound well. He knows how to defend in space. Like, his hands are everywhere. Again, this 6'9" forward who has a 7'2" wingspan. This is a player who will have a lot of value on the defensive end at the next level. Question is going to be, and again, maybe as a second round pick, he has time to kind of develop parts of his game, is that getting that more consistent offensive aggression on the perimeter, and being able to be a playmaker a little bit more, because we know he can be a playmaker. We saw him, and I talked with Coach Chris Gerlifson just last week about this very thing, that as the season went along just this past year, you saw more of the skills and more of the skill set that Jonathan had. You saw more of the ball handling. You saw more of the playmaking. We still did not see that shot, but we saw everything else, that he does a lot of the little things well, that as a second round pick for a team that's looking maybe for a high upside player, maybe a little bit more, not just like a full project, but a guy who's going to do a lot of the little things right while he works on other parts of his game. He's a player that can help you win games. And there's never been a concern to me about his defense, about his effort, about his work, about all those things. The concern for me was whether or not offensively he would be aggressive enough and be efficient enough to play at that next level. Because we didn't see him play well all against Gonzaga. We didn't see him play well against St. Mary's. We did not see him play well against Santa Clara. He offensively was a little bit more like invisible in those games against good teams. And a lot of times I want to look at film and let that kind of tell the story for me, because that tells me what type of player you are, or what you might look like at the next level. Obviously, NBA teams are starting to see more of that offensive game. I've seen some video clips, highlight reels or whatnot, of some of those workouts and some of what we are starting to see. And obviously, it's highlight reels. It's hard. You kind of take those with a grain of salt, because you kind of obviously you're going to get the best of the best in some of those looks. But this is a guy that I think there's potential there. If he gets picked, and it does look like more and more that he will get picked, that he is going to be probably a G League guy early on. He's going to have to show that he can consistently be an offensive weapon. Him being kind of like, and again, He'll be an undersized 4 in the in the NBA. He's not quite there as a 3. He doesn't shoot well enough to be a 3, or doesn't. We have not seen him shoot. We don't have the evidence to see that he's that sort of guy on the offensive end as a 3. But as a 4, I think that there's a lot to like about what Jonathan Mogbo is capable of. But I also think that there's maybe a bit of a higher risk here, because the one thing you have to be able to do in the league is score. Because if you become a liability on the offensive end, you just become basically a cone on the floor, and really not a threat at all. And defenses in the NBA are too good. The athletes in the NBA are too good to kind of just let you sit there and do nothing, and that really just hurts your team. So it really does look like we're going to see his name called, not on night 1, but on night 2. So that would be Thursday. We're going to see his name likely called somewhere. I've seen as high as 33. I've seen as low as 52. But he's now starting to appear on almost every draft board. And if he's starting to appear on almost every draft board and not like toward the end in the 50s, and he's in the 40s and the 30s, I think you could almost rest assured that he is going to have his name called during the NBA draft.